some sleepers here, some deep sleepers. Jeff, who are we not talking about in the Big 12 that we should be talking about?
I'm gonna go with Cincinnati, and I know they're picked fairly high, but I love their retention, right? I mean, they got a lot back from last year. Day Thomas and Skillings and Lukosius and Jizzle James, one of the best names in the country. CJ Frederickson is like eighth year. I mean, he's challenging Robbie Hummel for the record. And then they bring in some transfers that are going to help, like Dylan Mitchell. I'm a huge fan of Dylan as long as he kind of buys in to what he does well rather than trying to show people what he doesn't do as well. Connor Hickman, comes over from Bradley, an experienced guard. And I don't know. I have faith that Wes Miller, this is going to be the breakthrough year for them. And I think if there's a team that can crack the top five, I guess I have confidence in them because of how they're constructed, right? Having a lot of retention. Kansas State doesn't have enough retention for me. BYU has a brand new coach, doesn't have enough retention for me. I just think you look at these top teams that we've talked about, guys. Kansas, 3 big-time players back. Iowa State, most of their team back. Houston, most of their team back. I don't think you're going to be able to crack the top 3 or 5 without having big-time retention back. That's why I really like Cincinnati.
Real quick, like you keep doing this, man. Cincinnati. You keep saying Cincinnati. You did
Didn't I
this
say
last
Cincinnati?
year.
Cincinnati?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's the correct. I don't
Cincinnati.
know if that's the
Sorry.
Boston. I don't know what you're trying to do
I think
there.
it's just me moving to
Just go
Charleston.
Cincy. Just go
It's
Cincy.
Yeah,
That's
screwed up
easy.
my
yeah.
whole accent down here. They
Fellas,
don't
Great
he did
catch.
this
understand
last
me.
year. We can't keep letting him get off the hook. CJ, who do you like?
So I'm right there with them with Cincy. I also like Texas Tech. Like those are two teams I think both of them in my top 20 or right around there nationally. So while they're 6 and 7 here in the Big 12, if you got two teams that are going to be top 20 teams, those are really really good college basketball teams. He kind of went through it with Cincy. Really smart transfer additions and not just Dylan, but also the kid they got from
JT Toppin.
Bradley,
Oh, they got
Connor
JT
Hickman.
Toppin from, yeah, JT Toppin from New
No,
Mexico.
I'm talking about Cincy, but
Oh, so
the
excuse me.
yeah,
Hickman.
still Cincy. Yeah, Connor Hickman from Bradley is also a really good addition. I was talking to Wes for my I talked to every top 25 coach or damn near that we have in my top 25 and kind of talking about him like how hard it is for him to pick a starting lineup because they got like 7 or 8 dudes that you could justify starting. So I'm with Jeff. I really like that team, but Texas Tech also like look through Grant McCaslin's pass. Like the dude just always figures out a way to win. Darian Williams, I thought was one of the better transfers a year ago and really came on in Big 12 play. Chance McMillan was a stinky good ad a year ago, and I think with more minutes for him, like he has a chance to elevate. Is it possibly addition by subtraction, getting rid of Pop? He had some big moments for them, and he's almost like a extreme case of what we were talking about with Caleb Love. Like Pop will win you some games, but he'll lose you some too. I just think the chemistry and like role definition might be even better with this team than it was a year ago. Than you said already, JT Toppin, like
Yeah, I love that
that's
kid.
that's one of the best ads in college basketball, right? Like he was a real dude last year for New Mexico as a freshman. And if he is somebody that can really emerge as one of the better front court players in this league, then they got a good shot. I think point guard play is the concern. I think that's the question mark with them. Elijah Hawkins has to be a guy that sets people up and can handle playing on a really really good top 20 team. He was solid at Minnesota a year ago, and I think he's got a chance. But I think point guard play is probably the biggest concern I have. But other than that, like I really like this roster.
Are we just going to ignore Field of 68's own Kansas State? Is that what we're doing?
Is that how are they?
We bring
their
them. We
own?
bring them in. We bring them in just to not even give them the credit that they're due. That's all
That's
we're
right.
doing here.
That's right.
Is that what we're doing here, Goodman? We're not even going
There's-
to talk about Kansas
No, we're going
State.
to talk
We're
about
gonna
it,
get there.
but
Three
I have
centers.
concerns.
I do too. I do
was out
too.
there a
Like
couple
who's
weeks
really
ago.
who's really their guy? I think that's a big concern. They paid a lot of money for a lot of guys. Who's the guy? Okoronkwo is a really good player from Stanford. He's a piece. If it all comes together really well and Doug McDaniel is as good as he can possibly be, that's a big question mark. How does he go to the Big 12 from a Big 10? I'm just gonna shrug. So like there's a lot of potential there. Is the production going to come in bulk from everybody? Because there's some egos that are going to have to take a back seat because they brought in a lot of guys. They paid a lot of guys a lot of money. How's it going to work long term? I love both of your picks. I think Texas Tech, the fact that they weren't great defensively last year, just very middle of the pack in the Big 12. They go out, they've grabbed some defensive-minded guys with Toppin, and they grab Federico, who didn't average a ton of points, but he's going to be able to help them. That's a big one. Love Cincinnati. I've spoke at length with them earlier in the pod, so I'm going to skip that part. But I think, BYU has a couple of guys, Igor Demon, who's a pretty damn good player by all accounts. So are they going to be good right away? I don't know that answer because we don't know how Coach Young's going to run that group. So I'm excited to see how that goes. If I had to pick one, it would go Cincinnati. But, as far as Kansas State, Coleman Hawkins going to be able to do, they brought in some guys that were these highly touted McDonald's All-Americans type player that didn't work out at their first stop. Is there some magic potion down there in the Little Apple that can turn things around? I think that they could be an interesting storyline.
It's how the
I'm just going to go.
It's how the pieces fit, John.
100%.
More than anything, like, can you really play Coleman Hawkins at the 3? I say no. Maybe for 5 minutes. So
that's something you say to get him in the door, and then you just fix it.
But you need to find a 3. You need to find 3. Okay, 3 guards. To me, the Jones kid coming over from Cal State Fullerton, that's Max, right?
CJ.
Max Jones? CJ. I confused the two.
No.
No, there's a Max too. Sorry. There's a
Max
CJ.
Jones is
Max.
Cal State
Max
Fullerton.
Jones.
And then, CJ Jones is from UIC.
Right.
Yeah.
So Max looked great a couple of weeks ago. So could you go with a 3-guard lineup, which is what I would personally do? I would go with Doug, Howson, Max, and then go big up front with Coleman in either Okor or Onyenso. So that's what I would do. I don't think Coleman can guard 3s. I don't think you want to put him in that spot, especially when he was hurt last year. This team's going to be very interesting. I have him in the top 25, but I got to see it to believe it with my own eyes.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the hustle in college basketball, okay? You promise a position. Everybody's going to be a point guard, whatever, a 3-man. Then they get on campus. We're playing positionless basketball.
That's right.
Positionless.